You're listening to the Greeks Gridiron, live with Ethan Haristadoulou.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another edition of the Greeks Gridiron. I am Ethan Haristadoulou, and today we are doing our Week 1 preview of the 2021 NFL training camp. A lot of news breaking the last few days regarding some pretty high-profile players on teams, especially this morning. I am recording this in the early mornings of July 26th, so a lot to get into. A little bit later in the podcast, we'll also go over just kind of like my big things to watch as we roll through the next few weeks of the training camp. Now, first things first, the big breaking news that just came out this morning. I woke up at about like 8 o'clock, 8:30, something like that, rolled out of bed, checked Twitter, and the first thing I saw was this news that I thought I was going to see literally months ago. The Texans are finally open to trading quarterback Deshaun Watson after months of teams trying to reach out to them regarding the quarterback since well before the draft when he first, the first information leaked that he was ready to be out of there and be done with the Houston Texans. Obviously, the whole situation is very well documented. If you are clueless as to what's going on, all I have to say is, have you been under a rock? Because Deshaun Watson has wanted out for a while now. Tom Pelissero and Ian Rappaport confirmed it this morning. Apparently, after Watson reporting to camp on Sunday, the vibe that everyone was getting from him was that he's literally just there to avoid all the training camp fines that he would have gotten. And I think it's like $50,000 a day if he didn't show up for the training camp stuff. So it makes sense that, he's showing up just to, not lose as much money as possible, because I'm sure I don't know if he would actually sit out or not, but at this point, after, I'm assuming speaking with Texans brass, it sounds like they're ready to just move on. I think they were hoping that maybe having some time to himself, maybe he'd come into training camp willing to play, but it sounds like Watson was just, his demeanor was, no, I do not want to be here, and I'm only here because I don't want to lose money. NFL hasn't put him on the exempt list, so that's something to keep an eye on as well. I've been reading that insiders are saying they don't think the NFL is going to do it, at least for the time being. His lawsuits and everything are not even going to court this year, so it sounds like he should be able to play, barring anything coming from the NFL themselves this season, which opens the door for a lot of teams that are interested in a quarterback. As far as the compensation goes, it's going to be massive. 2 to 3 first-round picks minimum, and 2 first-round picks means it's going to be like a really good player package into that deal from wherever he ends up going. He does have a no-trade clause, so it really limits where the Texans can send him, but there are still a handful of teams that, you bring Watson somewhere, he's definitely going to elevate the team. So it's going to hurt the picks that they're getting, which is going to try to, which is going to make the Texans want to try to get as much as possible. But I mean, there's still a handful of teams that could go after him here. I have them listed in tiers of how I would expect the teams to pursue. In the tier 1 category, this is like where I could see him most likely, and I feel like, Watson would be willing to go. First one's the Broncos on the list. This is like, it's well stated that he wants to go to Denver. He's been telling Kareem Jackson this for a while now, and Kareem Jackson has been like the voice of Deshaun Watson. Another team I have on tier 1, because I don't really know if I'm sold on this marriage or not, and it feels very fake, but I don't know. Not Aaron Rodgers, excuse me, the Oakland Raiders, rather. This is, I don't know if I'm 100% sold on Derek Carr being their quarterback, and if John Gruden really loves Derek Carr. He did inherit Derek Carr, so that is something to think about. And I mean, the prospect of landing someone like Deshaun Watson, who, should everything go in Watson's favor, legally wise, if he, you're getting a 25, I think he's 26 now, 26-year-old quarterback who has all the star power in the world and ability to play the game at that position, that completely elevates the Raiders team. You get a quarterback that, in my opinion, could potentially go toe-to-toe with somebody like Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, the top quarterbacks in the league week in and week out on a roster that, this offseason worked to get better, but a massive upgrade like Watson at the quarterback position would be huge for them. Going into the tier 2 teams I have, these are teams that are, in my opinion, like a quarterback threat away from being legit contenders, barring one of the teams. First is Washington football team. I know that they have Ryan Fitzpatrick there now, obviously, but I mean, that could, Ryan Fitzpatrick is no stranger to not being the starter, even though he could have been the starter. We all know the career that he's, that he's had as a journeyman. But I mean, Washington has done a good job basically just getting better after last year. They have a fantastic defense. They brought in some offensive weapons. And I think that, if they were to pull in somebody like Deshaun Watson and give up the capital for it, it would really help out the team. Another team is the Dolphins. Whether you believe that the Dolphins actually believe in Tua or not is really up for anyone's conversation. In my opinion, I think that they believe in him, but I mean, you saw Tua getting pulled back and forth with Ryan Fitzpatrick last season. It was like a rotation of those two quarterbacks between him and Fitzpatrick. So I don't know if I'm 100% sold on that. And then the third team I have on here, the Eagles. This is a team that I could see Deshaun Watson wanting to go to. They have a whole regime change going on. They drafted Devontae Smith. They're working to try to like right the wrongs of the ship over there in Philly. And I could see him having interest in going there. I don't know if I put them too high in these tier lists. I was thinking about putting them in tier 3, but in my tier 3 list, I kind of made this like these are teams that have quarterbacks, but if the quarterback situation just looks bad and there's also history with this quarterback in one of the teams, I could see it maybe working out if for some crazy, circumstance happens. I have the Pats and Saints listed on here. Obviously, the Patriots have Mac Jones. They have Cam Newton. Cam Newton's salary is something that they can completely get rid of. I think they'll owe like maybe $2-3 million or something like that if they cut him at week 1 of the regular season. But if Mac Jones is not looking good, Bill Belichick loves Deshaun Watson, and if Cam Newton's, playing like Cam Newton last year, I know that Bill Belichick wants Deshaun Watson. He loves Deshaun Watson. I would not be surprised. And Deshaun Watson is the keys to Bill Belichick being able to, fight the whole him versus Brady thing that's going on right now in the league. So I have the Pats listed on there. I also have the Saints listed as well. The reason for the Saints is because their quarterback situation is up in the air. You have Jameis Winston, you have Taysom Hill. Nobody seems to really know who the front runner is in that situation. And I mean, Jameis Winston put up 30 touchdowns and 30 picks in a year. He also threw for nearly 5,000 yards? I mean, he's thrown for a lot of yards, a lot of touchdowns, but the mistakes are just crazy. And then, we don't really know what we have with Taysom Hill. He did start for a while with the Saints over the last few years and, did put up some good numbers here and there. He also had some wonky looking games as well. If that quarterback competition is not going the way they want, the Saints are a team that overall are a playoff contender as long as they have really good quarterback play. So could they pull the trigger for Deshaun Watson? Highly unlikely, hence why I have them in tier 3, but something to look at. But Deshaun Watson sounds like he's finally moving out of Houston. I mean, it's about time. I really think Houston shot themselves in the foot not trading him before the draft because ultimately it led to this. So, I mean, you should have just traded him before the draft when teams are probably even more willing to give up a ton of compensation for him. Also in the news, rolling around, the Packers start training camp tomorrow, the 27th. And according to Ian Rappaport, this was stated this is last week on the 21st from what I gathered from the information. Nothing has been resolved between the two sides, and no one knows if Rodgers is going to actually be there or not tomorrow. I would assume that, if they have to report tomorrow, we're not going to find out until literally that day on whether Aaron Rodgers shows up or not. What a mess of a situation. I think they're in the same place as the Texans. Honestly, they're in a better place than the Texans because, one, they have a better team, and two, they have their guy that they traded up for last year. So I don't really understand as to why they don't just move on from Aaron Rodgers, get the haul for the MVP of the league just this past season, and then build around Jordan Love. Now Devontae Smith wants out because they're not giving him money. I mean, I don't know what the Packers are doing. If this is how they've always done their stuff, I don't know. I was pretty young when the Brett Favre stuff was going on, so I don't really know the ins and outs of that whole situation. Maybe that's something I should look into more, and maybe that'll give me a clearer idea of how the Packers handle their big contract situations. But, I mean, there's so many questions regarding the Aaron Rodgers situation, and it's been radio silence just like the Watson situation as well. And my only real question is, could he do what Watson's doing and just show up and reiterate, I don't want to be here, but he wants to avoid fines. Aaron Rodgers has obviously made a ton of money in his career, more than Watson has at this point in his career. So, I mean, he does have a little bit more leverage in the fact that he doesn't necessarily need to show up. I'm assuming Rodgers has saved plenty of his money, and he's also made plenty of money from endorsement deals, plus his NFL salary. I mean, the dude's rolling in dough, so I don't know if the fines would hurt him as much as it would somebody that's a little bit younger in Deshaun Watson, who's still pretty early in his big mega deal he has with the Texans. But I digress. I think Aaron Rodgers will probably show up and do similar to what Watson's doing. I feel like Watson showing up and being there and, having that demeanor of, I don't want to be here, said a lot to the Texans. I feel the same thing will happen with Aaron Rodgers as well. I mean, it's been reported that Rodgers, declined being the highest paid player in the league. He's declined all this stuff from the Packers. It sounds like he just wants out the same way Watson does. And at this point, if you're the Packers, you need to just move on. Move on, get your haul, build around the guy you drafted in the first round last year that you traded up for. That's all I really got to say about that. The last piece of player news that I have for you guys, and this one was really surprising because the idea for me has been I'm so excited to see Chandler Jones and J.J. Watt just chasing down quarterbacks together should they both stay healthy. But it sounds like outside linebacker Chandler Jones of the Cardinals would like to be traded from Arizona. This was reported yesterday. I saw this while I was hanging out on Sunday. He's unhappy with the contract that he has. He is due $15.5 million this year. He is one of the best at what he does, and it's really funny because he is like low-key one of the best at what he does. He has 49 sacks between 2017 and 2019. He had 19 in 2019. He only played 5 games last year because of his biceps injury, but I mean, he does not get the love he deserves. It's really weird. People are just very quiet on Chandler Jones. Maybe it's because he's a quiet guy. I don't know him, but maybe that's what it is. He's not super flashy like some other players are at his position, but I mean, he puts up massive numbers. He gets to the quarterback. I know Bill Belichick loved him when he was over there in New England, and I'm sure it pained him to see Chandler Jones go, but business is business. But Chandler Jones is, one of the top guys when it comes to coming after the quarterback year in and year out, barring last season with the injury he had. I would like to see him stay in Arizona. He has 1 year left on the deal, so play out the year, play with J.J. Watt, see what they can do as a tandem. I would love to see it. If Arizona decides to pay him more money, that remains to be seen. But the way I see it is you want to have an awesome pass rush on a strong defense, and losing somebody like Chandler Jones is only going to hurt the Arizona Cardinals, and I don't really see a way of them mitigating that loss effectively this late into the offseason as we get ready for training camp. But we'll have to just see how that whole thing rolls out. That's all for the player news. As far as other stuff I wanted to talk about, I have some top training camp storylines to just kind of discuss a little bit with you guys. Would love to see what you all think. So fire away in the comment section down below, kind of what you're looking at, what you're seeing, hearing, and what do you think we should be watching as we roll through this offseason here and into the training camp now. The first thing is obviously the new quarterbacks that are in town. Carson Wentz is over in Indianapolis. Sam Darnold's over there in Carolina. You have Matthew Stafford and the Rams now over at LA. And then Ryan Fitzpatrick, obviously, on the Washington football team. And then, I'm assuming Deshaun Watson will also be on this list as well. So we'll just include him on that as well. But a lot of new QBs in town. I think that, as far as each and every single quarterback's position here, I think Carson Wentz is in a really good spot to succeed. He really likes Frank Reich. As a Colts fan, I'm very high on what the Colts are doing with the team organizationally. Like Chris Ballard has been amazing for the team, so I'm excited to see where they go, especially if Carson Wentz can return to form. I think he's in a really good spot. Sam Darnold, this is a really big question mark for me because it's like half the crowd is, oh, he's really good just on a bad team, and the other half is like, nah, I think he's as good as advertised. I think I side with the group on the to what is this, to my right, your left. I don't know what it looks like on the screen here, but I think that Sam Darnold has a lot more in him. He's still so young, and I mean the Carolina Panthers in this stage are in a better spot than where the Jets were last season. So I'm very curious to see how he works out over there in Carolina. Again, the Carolina Panthers were a team that lost 8 games by 8 points or less last year, so they were very even at 5-11, they very well could have been 11-5. So that's kind of how you have to look at that per se. But I think Sam Darnold's in a really good spot. Matthew Stafford, obviously, this is going to be a wild year for LA. They did just lose Cam Akers. That'll be something we have to watch as well for the LA Rams. But I mean, Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, that defense that they have over there with Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey. I mean, the LA Rams are looking stacked. I am in the group that believes in Matthew Stafford. I think he's going to be a fantastic quarterback over there in LA. He's always been a great quarterback, and he just has not gotten much media attention because he's been in Detroit. And not to knock you Detroit fans, but I mean, I know a lot of you understand how good this is for Matthew Stafford being in LA and the position he's in. And then Ryan Fitzpatrick, obviously, I think he's actually in a really good spot. Washington football team has a fantastic defense. They picked up some good pieces in like Curtis Samuel on the offense, and there's a lot to like about what Washington was doing towards the end of the season. They gave the Super Bowl champions a run for their money in that wild card game. So Ryan Fitzpatrick's going into a good spot. He himself even stated that, he feels like this is the best position for him professionally. So he's excited to be there himself. So a lot of new QBs in town, stuff we'll have to look at. Obviously, pending Deshaun Watson's trade, we'll have to talk about where he goes once that happens. Ben Roethlisberger's rebound in Pittsburgh. Is he going to come back better than last year? Is he going to be the same quarterback as last year? Is he going to be the worse than last year? I mean, his numbers were good. 3,800 yards, 33 TDs, 10 ints, 65.5% completion percentage, 94.1 QBR. I mean, Roethlisberger wasn't bad last year. I know that the offense tapered off a bit towards the end, but the defense was also hurt. They started out 11-0 and they were so hot, and then, things kind of just spun out of control. But, I will say, despite the really tough loss they had to the Browns there in the playoffs, Roethlisberger still put up a lot of numbers in that last game. I mean, interceptions aside, a lot of touchdowns, 500 yards. I mean, the dude was playing out of his mind during that final playoff game in terms of just trying to put the team on his back. But, you can't really ask a quarterback to throw the football 60 times and really expect good results in a game. So it is what it is with that situation. Quarterback battles are another big thing I want to kind of keep an eye on here. We have the Broncos, obviously, with Teddy Bridgewater and Drew Lock. Maybe insert Deshaun Watson if he goes there. We also have the Saints quarterback battle, of course, with Jameis Winston and I literally just said his name earlier. Taysom Hill, excuse me. That'll be interesting. I have the edge for Jameis Winston on that one. I think that, he has just more starting experience as a quarterback in the league. Taysom Hill is a gadget guy, and if they make him the quarterback, it kind of takes out what you can do with Taysom Hill. So I feel like starting Jameis Winston and then going from there and seeing how that works out with Taysom Hill still playing the gadget role he does will really benefit the Saints offense because they'll be able to basically keep things very similar, except, Jameis Winston has a massive arm compared to Drew Brees' arm that was, waning in the last few years of his career. The Pats quarterback battle, of course, Cam Newton versus Mac Jones. Who the heck is going to win that quarterback battle? I mean, Cam Newton's looking good, but he's a Bill Belichick type of guy. He says all the right things, and it sounds like Bill Belichick loves him. He has gone to bat for him multiple times. I hear all the pundits around here talking about him in Massachusetts. So, I mean, who really knows? Mac Jones hasn't even earned his number yet. He's still wearing the number 50 jersey, so we'll have to see how that whole thing shakes out. But I'm going to go ahead and give the edge to, funny enough, I'm going to give the edge to Mac Jones. And the reason being is I just think he fits what New England does as a quarterback more effectively. The Patriots tried to do the whole read option thing with Cam Newton last year, and I just don't know if that's really what the Patriots are made for. I don't know if that's Josh McDaniels' offense, in my opinion. It started out hot because it's always a little confusing when teams start doing that stuff, but teams are a lot quicker to catch on to that stuff. It's not a new system, and, I don't want to say it was very successful last year, so I'm going to give the edge to Mac Jones. I think he might surprise and beat out early on. If not through training camp in the preseason, he'll be starting, weeks 2, 3, 4, maybe even if he's going up against Tom Brady. I don't know if Bill Belichick wants him to do that or not, but we'll see. And then my last one, this is kind of like a question. Could Trey Lance upset Jimmy Garoppolo? I don't know. It sounds like the 49ers just do not want Garoppolo. I mean, there has been so much said in that not that Trey Lance, but like the Garoppolo 49ers situation. Obviously the Trey Lance drafting, I'm sure Garoppolo is not happy about that. 49ers brass has come out and said that they were very upset with the fact that Matthew Stafford went to the LA Rams because they were in on the running of that. I mean, so more and more just keeps coming out with, the 49ers not wanting Jimmy Garoppolo. If they cut him, they save a ton of money. I think it's like $25 million. They'll only be on count for like $3.25 million or something like that if they decide to cut Jimmy Garoppolo at any point. And I really feel like the 49ers are going to give Trey Lance every opportunity to win that starting job and push him as hard as possible to get him as ready as possible as soon as possible. But those are the QB battles to look at. As far as like another big question, and I kind of touched on this earlier, who's going to replace Cam Akers in the LA offense? There's the expectations are through the roof for LA. Cam Akers going down with the way he emerged last season, that leaves a big question mark for that offense. So, Darrell Henderson, Xavier Jones, they also have some other guys in Raymond Calais, Jake Funk, Otis Anderson. There's a group of 5 guys over there that are going to be battling it out. Everyone that I've talked to about this, Darrell Henderson seems to be the name that keeps coming up. He was supposed to be the guy that replaced Todd Gurley when he was on his way out of LA. So we'll have to keep an eye on that rotation of quarterbacks there and see who comes out on the top as we roll through the training camp and preseason time. Another couple questions that I have before we wrap up the podcast. First one is, will Baltimore's new receiving group elevate the Ravens? Now, if you watched my top 10 quarterbacks video I posted a few days ago, we touched on my top 5 quarterbacks, and number 5, I have Lamar Jackson. He is uber talented. He can run the football, he can throw the football, all that stuff. He puts up awesome numbers. And the passing situation over there, in my opinion, was not great. Not because of Lamar Jackson, but the receiving core was lacking, in my opinion. Now bringing in guys like Rashad Bateman and Sammy Watkins, if he can stay healthy, because I love Watkins. He just can't stay healthy, it seems. This is a new look offense in terms of receiving. And things could get real powerful real quick there. If Rashad Bateman is as good as advertised, if Sammy Watkins can stay on the field, you have to believe that those two guys are stepping right into starting roles and getting things going. Obviously, with Marquise Brown there as well, you have a really solid trio along with your tight end and Andrews, and then the running game was starting to really pick up steam. Oh, well, the running game in Baltimore has been really good for the last few years regardless, but they were getting really good last year with J.K. Dobbins. So a ton to watch there, but I really think that with the upgrades the Baltimore Ravens have made, it puts them in a prime position to really contend in the AFC. The Ravens even came out and said that they were, really working on getting Lamar Jackson comfortable under center and playing more traditional quarterback style of play. I think Lamar Jackson's a really good passer. It's just a matter of with the talent that they had on the team and the style that they had administered initially was maybe holding him back a little bit. I think having him more under center, calling more traditional plays in terms of just, rather than it being like in shotgun over and over and over again, we're going to see a lot more from Lamar Jackson. I'm really excited to see what happens with him there. And then my last, big storyline, and this is something that I have hammered throughout the offseason for the Dallas Cowboys, is their defense ready to back up Dak and that offense that they have over there? I don't know. A lot of new pieces coming in. The defense was really bad in Dallas last year. Biggest reason why they were not successful outside of Dak Prescott. They have signings like Gerald McCoy, Dontari Poe, Clinton Dix. The draft picks include Micah Parsons, Kelvin Joseph, Jabril Cox, and others. A lot of talent coming in, a big infusion of talent. Will it work out this first year? Potentially. I'm thinking next year that defense is going to really come together, but there's a lot of new and a lot of really young talent coming in, and that can really go both ways. I feel like it's harder to get stars on defense than it is on offense through the draft. So a lot really needs to go well, and defense, like when it comes to defense, obviously football as a whole, everyone needs to be on the same page, but defense especially, because you don't know what the offense is doing. The offense does. So there's a lot more guesswork, a lot more just preparation involved, a lot more, I feel, mental toughness, like especially like the cornerback position. Like, my God. Yeah, but anyways, aside from all that, a lot of new talent coming in. I do expect their defense to be better. I'm going to also say that I expect to see some bumps in the road. But ultimately, I think Dallas has really done a good job addressing the issue that they have there. You went all in with Dak Prescott. That defense needs to get better if Dak Prescott is going to lead this team on a deep playoff run or potentially to the Super Bowl in the next few years. And this is the time to do it. So those are my big storylines. That is pretty much it that I have for the podcast for you guys today. I think what I'm going to be doing is, since I did a preview here on Monday, when Friday or Saturday rolls around, I'll probably have a review up for you guys to kind of just see what's happened throughout the week, see what people are saying. We'll talk about some of the notable storylines, if anything has come up, changed, things like that. But as always, if you enjoy the content, like, comment, share, sub, all that good stuff. I appreciate you all for watching. I'll catch you guys next time. Have a good one.